Japan has a way of looking at the small, annoying parts of daily life and fixing them so completely that you wonder how you ever put up with them in the first place. A magnetic bar that holds your soap in midair so it never sits in a puddle of its own water again. A cling film box with a metal blade that cuts cleanly every single time. And a storage tower that slides perfectly into the gap beside your fridge that you've been completely ignoring for years. These aren't big renovations or expensive upgrades. They're tiny ideas so logical they should be universal, and somehow only Japan figured them out. Today we're counting down 21 tiny Japanese home ideas that just make sense. Watch until the end because number 21, toilet slippers, is so ridiculously logical that the moment you hear it, you'll never look at your bathroom floor the same way again. Number 1, slim gap storage units. There's a gap beside almost every fridge, washing machine, and kitchen counter in the world. A few centimeters of dead space that collects dust, occasionally swallows a bottle cap, and otherwise does absolutely nothing. Japan looked at that gap and turned it into storage. Slim rolling storage units are narrow towers specifically designed to slide into those unused spaces. They roll out on wheels when you need them and push back flush against the appliance when you don't. Some are 10 centimeters wide, some are even narrower. They hold spices, cleaning products, cling film, foil, condiments, anything that normally gets crammed into an already overcrowded cupboard. It's not a complicated idea. It's just a tower the exact width of a gap that every home already has but nobody else thought to use. Once you have one, the idea of leaving that space empty feels genuinely wasteful. Number 2, cooking drop lids. Most pot lids do one thing. They sit on the rim of the pot, trap steam, and keep heat in, which works fine until you're cooking something in liquid that needs even heat distributed all the way through rather than just bouncing off a lid several centimeters above the food. Japan solved this with a drop lid. Instead of resting on the pot's rim, it sits directly on top of the food inside the liquid. It keeps everything submerged, distributes heat evenly across the entire surface, prevents ingredients from floating or moving around, and allows just enough steam to escape so nothing boils over. It comes in wood, silicone, and stainless steel, and it's a standard tool in Japanese home kitchens used for simmered vegetables, fish, and braised dishes. The concept is so straightforward that once you see it, a conventional lid sitting centimeters above the food it's supposed to be cooking starts to seem like an unfinished idea. Number 3, UV toothbrush sterilizers. Here's something most people don't think about. Your toothbrush sits in the bathroom, open to the air about a meter from the toilet, for 23 hours a day. Every flush sends a fine aerosol of particles into the air around it. Every person who walks in contributes to the bacteria count. And then you put it in your mouth twice a day. Japan decided that wasn't good enough. Wall-mounted UV toothbrush sterilizers are common in Japanese bathrooms. You slot your toothbrush in after use, the unit seals, and a UV light cycle kills the bacteria sitting on the bristles between uses. Some models also dry the brush with warm air to prevent moisture buildup, which is where most bacterial growth happens. Brands like Panasonic make them as standard bathroom products rather than specialist health items. It's a small wall unit that does one job quietly, automatically, and every single day without you thinking about it. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more of Japan's clever, everyday innovations. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even smarter. Number 4, room-specific slippers. Most people who wear indoor slippers at home have one pair. They put them on at the front door and wear them through every room, from the kitchen to the living room to the bathroom and back again. Whatever's on the bathroom floor travels to the kitchen. Whatever's on the kitchen floor travels to the sofa. Japan separates them entirely. Different slippers for different zones of the home, each pair staying within its designated area. Living room slippers stay in the living room. A separate pair sits outside the bathroom door and is only ever worn inside it. Some homes have a kitchen pair too. It's not an obsessive habit. It's a straightforward acknowledgement that different areas of a home have different levels of cleanliness, and wearing the same footwear through all of them treats them as if they're identical. Once the logic clicks, a single pair of slippers worn everywhere starts to seem like a strange thing to do. Number 5, metal-cut cling film boxes. Cling film is one of those products that should be simple to use and rarely is. You pull out the amount you need, go to tear it against the plastic serrated edge on the box, and end up with a crumpled mess that's stuck to itself, torn unevenly, or barely separated from the roll at all. It happens almost every single time. Japanese cling film boxes fix this with a metal serrated blade instead of plastic teeth. The blade is sharp, consistent, and cuts cleanly through the film every time you pull across it. No snagging, no tearing at an angle, no film folding back on itself. Japanese brands like Kureha have been doing this for years as a standard product feature rather than a premium upgrade. It's a tiny improvement to a daily kitchen tool that takes about one use to appreciate fully. The plastic version starts to feel like a design decision nobody ever bothered to revisit. Number 6. Magnetic soap holders. A bar of soap sitting in a soap dish spends most of its life dissolving. The water that pools underneath it never fully drains, the bottom of the bar stays permanently wet, and the dish itself develops a film of residue that needs regular cleaning. It's a small but persistent annoyance that nobody ever really addresses. Japan addressed it. The magnetic soap holder works by embedding a small metal pin into the bar of soap, which then attaches to a wall-mounted magnetic plate above the sink. The soap hangs in mid-air between uses, completely suspended, draining and drying from all sides. The bar lasts longer because it's not sitting in water. There's no dish to clean. There's no residue collecting on the sink surface. Brands like Marna in Japan popularized the design, and it's now a standard product in Japanese home stores. It's a soap dish that got rid of the dish entirely, and it's hard to argue with the logic. Number 7. Precision soy sauce bottles. Pouring from a standard bottle is a surprisingly imprecise thing. You tip it, liquid comes out faster than expected, you end up with more than you wanted, and whatever you're eating is now sitting in a small pool of it. With something as concentrated as soy sauce, that's the difference between seasoning a dish and ruining it. Japan engineered a better bottle. The classic Kikkoman soy sauce dispenser, one of Japan's most recognized industrial designs, features a narrow precision spout that controls the flow and channels the liquid cleanly without dripping down the side after you tip it upright again. You get exactly as much as you want, where you want it, with no excess running down the outside of the bottle onto the table. It's a dispenser designed around how soy sauce is actually used rather than just how it gets stored, and the difference is noticeable immediately from the very first pour. Number 8. The bath stool. In most Western bathrooms, you stand in the shower for the entire duration of washing. You stand while you shampoo, while you soap, while you rinse, the whole time. It's fine, but it's not particularly comfortable, and for anyone older or with any mobility issue, it's more demanding than it needs to be. In Japan, the bathroom is set up differently. A low plastic or wooden stool sits in the wet wash area beside the bath. You sit down, wash thoroughly at a comfortable height, rinse completely, and then step into the soaking tub clean. The stool is a standard fixture in Japanese bathrooms. It makes the washing process more comfortable, more thorough, and more practical for everyone using the bathroom regardless of age. It's also just a more relaxed way to approach something you do every single day. Sitting down to wash rather than standing through the whole process turns the routine into something slightly less rushed. Number 9. Noren room dividers. Most interior spaces have two options for dividing a room: a full door that requires hinges, a frame, swing clearance, and a latch, or nothing at all. Japan has been using a third option for centuries. The Noren is a fabric panel that hangs across a doorway from a rod, splitting a space softly without blocking it entirely. It provides partial privacy, retains warmth between rooms, reduces sound travel, and signals a transition without the weight or permanence of a door. When you need to pass through, you push it aside and it falls back into place behind you. No handle, no latch, no space needed for a swing. In Japanese homes, Noren panels are used in kitchen doorways, bedroom entrances, and between living spaces where a full door would be unnecessary, but some degree of separation is still useful. It's a simple piece of fabric doing a job that most homes still assign to a door that costs several $100s to install. Number 10. Grease splatter guards. Frying anything without protection turns the stovetop into a cleaning job. Oil hits the pan, reaches temperature, and starts sending small droplets in every direction. By the time whatever you're cooking is done, the burners, the surrounding counter, and sometimes the wall behind the stove are all covered in a fine layer of grease that takes real effort to remove. Japan's answer is a simple mesh splatter guard that sits over the frying pan while you cook. It's fine enough to block oil droplets from escaping, but open enough to let steam through freely so nothing builds up pressure underneath and the food cooks normally. It's a standard kitchen tool sold in every Japanese home store, used as a matter of routine rather than something reserved for particularly messy cooking sessions. A small round of mesh that sits over the pan and keeps the rest of the kitchen clean. Simple, inexpensive, and the kind of thing you use every single day once you have it. Number 11. Long-handled shoe horns. Putting shoes on sounds like it shouldn't require a tool, and then you spend 30 seconds bent over trying to ease your heel in without crushing the back of the shoe. Eventually give up and use your finger as a makeshift horn while half crouching at the front door. Japan keeps a long-handled shoe horn beside the entrance of almost every home. These aren't the small pocket-sized versions. They're 60 to 70 centimeters long, designed to be used while standing completely upright. You slip the curved end inside the back of the shoe, your heel slides in cleanly, and you're done without bending down at all. It's a particularly practical fixture at the genkan, where shoes come off and go on every time you enter or leave the home multiple times a day. A longer shoehorn costs almost nothing, takes up almost no space, and eliminates a small but recurring daily frustration entirely. Japan just decided to make it the right length. Number 12. Hair drain catchers. Blocked bathroom drains are one of those problems that build up slowly and invisibly until the water is pooling around your feet and you're reaching into a drain that nobody wants to reach into. The cause is almost always the same: hair that went down over weeks and months, accumulated, and eventually blocked the pipe. Japan treats this as something to intercept before it ever happens. Dedicated hair drain catchers sit directly over the drain opening, designed with fine mesh or close-set teeth to catch hair at the surface before it enters the pipe at all. They're small, inexpensive, and available in every Japanese home store in designs that make them easy to remove and clean without touching the drain itself. The problem never gets the chance to develop because the hair never gets past the first centimeter. It's a simple barrier that keeps a universally unpleasant maintenance job from ever becoming necessary. Japan just made intercepting it the standard approach. Number 13. Over-sink dish rack. After washing dishes, most people slide a drying rack onto the counter beside the sink. The dishes drip, the mat underneath stays permanently damp, and the counter loses a sizable chunk of its usable surface to a rack that sits there all day, whether it's full or empty. Japan moves the rack over the sink instead. Over-sink dish drying racks are designed to span the basin directly, so everything drains straight down into the sink below, rather than pooling on a mat beside it. The counter stays completely clear, there's no damp surface to deal with, and the rack itself takes up zero counter space because it's sitting above a space that wasn't being used for anything else. It's a standard kitchen setup in Japanese homes, particularly in compact apartments where counter space is genuinely limited rather than just being wasted. One small repositioning of a tool most kitchens already have, and the counter opens up entirely. Japan just decided the rack belonged over the drain, not beside it. Number 14. Fridge organization inserts. Most fridges look the same after a few weeks of regular use. Items pushed to the back and forgotten. Condiment bottles tipped over. Leftovers stacked on top of each other. A general sense that things are in there, but nothing is exactly findable without moving several other things out of the way first. Japan approaches fridge organization the way it approaches most storage problems, with uniform, purpose-designed inserts. Small, clear containers and divider trays from stores like Daiso and Syria are bought specifically to organize fridge interiors by category, keeping like items together, everything visible, and the available space used properly rather than filled randomly. The fridge becomes a system instead of a box. Vegetables in one zone, sauces in another, leftovers in a consistent spot you actually check. It costs almost nothing to set up, takes one afternoon to implement, and changes how the fridge functions on a daily basis from that point forward. Number 15. The bath tray. The problem with a long soak in the bath is that there's nowhere to put anything. You want to read, the book balances on the edge and one movement sends it sliding. You want a drink, it sits on the floor beside the tub. You want your phone nearby, you're balancing it somewhere precarious for the entire duration. Japanese bathrooms solve this with a simple tray that spans the width of the tub. It sits across both sides, creating a flat surface above the water at a comfortable height for whatever you want to keep close. A book, a drink, soap, a phone, all of it sits securely while you soak. It's typically bamboo or plastic, slim enough not to feel intrusive, and it turns the bath from a place where you can't comfortably have anything near you into one where everything you want is right there. A small thing that makes the best part of the day noticeably better. Number 16. Press-top vacuum containers. Standard food storage containers seal with a lid that clips or presses down around the rim. They keep food contained, but they don't remove the air inside, which means oxidation continues, moisture escapes, and whatever's in the container starts to stale or dry out faster than it should. Japanese press-top vacuum containers fix this with a small button built into the lid. You press it a few times after closing and it pumps air out of the container, creating a vacuum seal. No separate pump, no extra equipment. Just a button on the lid you press before putting it in the fridge. Food stored in a vacuum stays fresher for significantly longer because the main cause of deterioration, oxygen, has been removed. It's a better seal with no added complexity. Press the button, food stays fresh longer. That's the whole idea, and it's hard to think of a reason not to do it this way from the start. Number 17. Chopstick rests. When you set a fork down between bites, it rests on the plate or the table. The tines that were just in your mouth are now touching whatever surface is in front of you, and when you pick it, back up, whatever was on that surface comes with it. Japan handles this differently. Chopstick rests are small ceramic, wood, or glass pieces that sit on the dining table specifically to keep the eating end of the chopsticks elevated off the surface between bites. The tips rest on the holder, touching nothing, and get picked back up clean. They're a standard feature of the Japanese home table setting, come in a wide range of simple and decorative designs, and add almost nothing in terms of space or effort to the dining setup. It's a small object that addresses a hygiene detail most people don't consciously notice, but that happens at every single meal. Japan just decided to deal with it properly. Number 18. The entrance key cabinet. Most homes have a version of the same problem. Keys get put down somewhere near the door, end up in a slightly different place each time, and at least once a week someone is running late because they spent 5 minutes locating them. Mail accumulates on whatever flat surface is closest to the entrance. Small daily essentials scatter across the hallway. Japan installs a small wall-mounted cabinet directly at the genkan for exactly this purpose. It has dedicated hooks for keys, a small shelf for mail and daily items, and a door that closes to keep everything tidy and out of sight. Everything that needs to come with you when you leave has one specific place it always goes back to. The keys are always there, the mail is always there, nothing gets lost because nothing gets put down randomly. It's a tiny cabinet doing a job that most homes leave to habit and habit and chance almost always lose. Number 19. Sink side organizer racks. The area directly beside the kitchen sink is one of the most consistently cluttered spots in any home. A sponge sitting in a puddle of water, a dish brush lying flat on the counter, soap balanced on the edge of the basin, a bottle of washing up liquid taking up more space than it needs to. All of it wet, all of it slightly in the way. Japan uses a compact rack that sits beside or mounts above the sink to hold all of it properly. Sponges sit in a ventilated holder, so they drain and dry between uses. The brush has a slot, the soap has a tray. Everything is off the counter surface and in a designated position. It's a single organizer that takes a perpetually cluttered area of the kitchen and turns it into something that stays tidy with no extra effort. Small, practical, and the kind of thing that makes you wonder how you managed without it after about 3 days of use. Number 20. Floor cushions. Sitting on the floor is something most Western homes quietly discourage by making it uncomfortable. Hardwood, cold tile, or a rug, thin enough that you feel the floor through it anyway. The result is that floor-level living basically doesn't happen, and rooms are arranged entirely around chairs and sofas that take up most of the available space. Japan makes floor sitting genuinely comfortable with thick, firm cushions that provide real support for extended periods. They're used daily in living rooms and tatami spaces, stacked and stored easily when not in use, and allow a room to function at floor level without any furniture taking up permanent space. They're not a compromise solution. They're a considered alternative that opens up how a room can be used and felt throughout the day. In smaller homes especially, the ability to use floor space as living space rather than just walking space changes the entire feel of a room completely. Number 21. Toilet slippers. Think about the floors in your home. The living room gets vacuumed, the kitchen gets mopped, the bedroom stays reasonably clean, and then there's the toilet room floor, which is objectively the least hygienic surface in the entire house, and in most Western homes it gets treated exactly the same as every other floor. Japan separates it entirely. A dedicated pair of slippers sits just outside the toilet room door. You slip them on when you go in and slip them back off when you come out. They never leave that room. Whatever is on that floor stays in that room. It requires one pair of inexpensive slippers and a consistent habit that takes about a week to form. After that, it becomes completely automatic. It's one of those ideas that sounds overly particular until someone explains the logic behind it, and then the alternative, treating the toilet floor the same as everywhere else, starts to seem like the strange choice. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe, and make sure to watch the video on your end screen. It's packed with even more cool ideas.